Hello everyone. Welcome to Crack Grade B online learning platform. So guys, let us quickly revise what we have already studied about the accounting standards, their objective, their treatment, their accounting in the last two lectures, and then we'll move on to the learning of the current slide. The accounting standards, they were for the recognition, measurement, the treatment, presentation and disclosure of the accounting transactions of particular kind. So in this lecture, we had studied about accounting standard 10. We have seen their applicability. They are applicable on corporate as well as non-corporate kind of entities with partial exemptions and full exemptions of some of the accounting standards. The corporate entities were required to follow the accounting standards every time they were preparing the financial statements, but the non-corporate entities were required to comply with the accounting standards only when they were required to get their accounts attested with the practicing CA. Then the list of accounting standards in our syllabus. Right now we are studying the accounting standard 10, that stands for property, plant and equipment. Objective, we have seen that it enables the users to understand the accounting treatment for investments made by the entity. Also, the accounting for depreciation, that was accounting standard 6. That stands withdrawn and everything that relates to depreciation is now merged with accounting standard 10. As per the definition of plant, property and equipment, we have seen with the help of examples that there are three important components and the qualifications for an asset to be called as plant, property and equipment. That is, that should be a tangible asset which could be touched as well as seen. Secondly, it should be held for the production purpose, and also the life of the asset should be more than 1 year, or we are acquiring that asset for the purposes of business for more than 1 year. So with the help of an example, we saw that machine, computer, land, building, furniture, they all were tangible, held for the production purpose, and also the life was for more than 1 year. So when all these three conditions were fulfilled, the asset was known as a plant, property and equipment. But when even a single component was missing from the definition, that does not qualify for a plant, property and equipment. The example for the following was the computer software and the stock for the business. Then we learnt about the applicability of accounting standard 10. Accounting standard 10, it is applied for accounting of all types of property, plant and equipment with respect to two exemptions or two exceptions, that are the biological assets and the wasting assets, that are mines. In the biological assets, we saw another exemption. That means everything that is a bearer plant. Let us take the example of the mango tree over here. The mango tree that produces mangoes, it is divided into two parts. The mango tree is a bearer plant that is included in the scope of accounting standard 10. That means it qualifies for being called the property, plant and equipment. But the produce of the mangoes, that is excluded from the scope of accounting standard 10. That means this accounting standard will not be applicable to it. Recognition of accounting standard 10. So we have seen that once an asset is called a property, plant and equipment, it should be recognized in the books of accounts, but only when the two conditions are fulfilled simultaneously. We can see that these sentences, they carry and in between, which means it is important for both of the conditions to be fulfilled for it to be recognized in the books of accounts. The first one being that future economic benefits should be generated into the business from that plant, property and equipment. And secondly, the cost of the asset could be reliably be measured. Here we took an example of night shelter for poor, wherein there were no future economic benefits were generated for the donation purposes. So we do not recognize this asset of night shelter in the books of accounts. Then in the last lecture, we also studied about the measurement of cost of the asset, wherein we saw the elements of the cost while we record the asset into the books of accounts. Therein, we saw that the purchase price, that is also known as the list price of the asset, is included in the cost of the product. Also, the taxes that we pay while we incur cost on the purchase of the product, they are also included in the component of the cost, and the trade discounts that are allowed to us by the shopkeeper, they are deducted respectively from the product. Also, any cost that are directly attributable to bringing the asset into the location and condition necessary for capable of being operated. Therefore, the example says that cost of delivery and installation, they are included into the cost of the product while we record them into the books of accounts. And the last thing we studied, it was we took an hypothetical example for it, that was the cost of dismantling and removing the item. Though it is a expected cost since it will be incurred in the future, but this was an amendment in the accounting standard 10 where we have to take an estimate of the cost of dismantling and record it when we record the asset with the purchase price and the directly attributable cost. So these costs are capitalized, which means that they will be debited to the account of the asset instead of being debited into the profit and loss account. We took an example over here where we saw that the list price, that is also known as the purchase price of the asset, we subtracted the trade discounts that were allowed on the list price, and every expense that was incurred for installation of the product from the shopkeeper's place to our place of business, they all are taken into consideration while we capitalize the cost of plant into the books of accounts. And we also studied that the maintenance costs that take place every yearly or after every interval of time, these are the costs that are not capitalized but they are recognized as expenses in the P&L, that is the profit and loss statement. So measurement of cost at recognition. We also studied that once the asset qualifies for recognition as an asset into the books of accounts, it should be measured at fair value. Fair value is nothing but what a transaction takes place between two persons who are knowledgeable and willing buyers. Also, the transaction takes place at an arm's length price, that is not polluted cost or not contaminated by related party transaction. Now, when fair value of the asset could not be reliably be measured or the commercial substance is missing, then we said that the book value of old asset should be recorded at the cost of the new asset. Here we meant that when you are purchasing a new asset but you are exchanging it with an old item in your books of accounts, at that time we say that the commercial substance is lacking in the transaction. So when an old asset is exchanged for the new asset, at that time we will record the new asset with the a book value of the old asset and not with the purchase price, because the new asset was not being purchased, it was exchanged with the old asset. Also, where there is an item of property, plant and equipment which has many parts attached to it, say parts of an aircraft, the fin, the cabin, the nose and the jet engine, at that time we apportion every respective cost of the different parts and allocate those costs separately, and then we record them at their unique fair values. We studied about the concept of depreciation. As seen in the pictures, the products or the property, plant and equipment, they are climbing down the money. That means there is a decline in the value of these assets which is due to depreciation. Then we studied about the features of depreciation, wherein we saw that decline in the value of books of the fixed asset is called depreciation. It includes the value due to lost due to the fluctuation of time, usage or obsolescence. We studied what the obsolescence is meant with the help of an example where we saw that the old machine becomes outdated and the new machine is brought in the market. Also, depreciation is a continuous process. It does not happen for a one day or for a 1 week. It happens continuously, and also it is a non-cash expense. Since it does not involve any cash outflow, it is an expired cost that happens in the past and we see it in the future. So it is very important to deduct this kind of expense from the taxable profits to arrive at the true and fair view of the balance sheet. The next slide goes for the causes of depreciation. We saw that due to wear and tear, use and passage of time, the fixed asset, it deteriorates in its value. Also due to obsolescence, that is the technological changes and the abnormal factors like the fire, the earthquake and the floods. Need for depreciation. The matching of cost with revenue, consideration of tax, true and fair financial position, and compliance with law are some of the reasons for which depreciation is needed. Now, the depreciation accounting was not applicable to those assets that are not considered plant, property, and equipment, and to those assets that do not qualify for accounting standard 10. That were the depreciation accounting will apply to those assets that are expected to be used for more than 1 year, have a limited useful life, and held for purpose of production. Also, they will not be applied to the forest plantations that are known as the biological assets, and also to the wasting mines or simply the mines. Today we will move on to this slide, that is the measurement after recognition. So I have left this slide in the previous class because I wanted you to study depreciation first and know this later. So an enterprise can select the revaluation model or the cost model as the accounting policy and employ the same to entire class of its properties and plant and equipment. So once an asset is recognized in your books of accounts, that means you have recorded that asset. Maybe you purchased it in year 2017, and later on in 2019 you want to measure it. Since it has been recognized earlier, we call it measurement after recognition. So there are two types of method using which you can apply the measurement after recognition. The first one being the cost model. After recognition, an item of property, plant, and equipment should be carried at its cost less any accumulated depreciation. It means that every year, if we are employing depreciation of 20,000 rupees on our asset, if we purchased it in year 2017 at 1 lakh rupees, so every year it should be measured at the amount of its cost less the accumulated depreciation of 20,000. So in 2018, it should be represented in our books of account at 1 lakh minus 20,000, that is 80,000. Then in the next year, it should again be represented by subtracting 20,000 from the cost of that asset. This is the first method, that is known as the cost model. And the second one is the revaluation model, wherein after recognition as an asset, an item of property, plant, and equipment whose fair value can be reliably be measured should be carried at a revalued amount, being its fair value at the date of revaluation, less any subsequent accumulated depreciation and subsequent accumulated impairment losses. So, now what is impairment loss? Sometimes it happens that you every year you are charging depreciation of 20,000 to the particular fixed asset that was purchased for say 1 lakh, and currently if I see in my books of account, it shows me that the cost of the asset stands at 50,000 rupees, but in the market, due to say new technology or advancement in the technology, that similar asset stands at rupees 40,000. So in my books of account, I'm showing the cost of the asset after charging depreciation at 50,000, but in the market the same asset is for 40,000. So this is known as my impairment loss. Though I have charged the depreciation and reduced yearly the cost of my fixed asset, but still, since in the market it is at a lower price than my carrying amount or the value at which I am carrying that asset in the books of accounts. So at that time we need to use this revaluation model. We need to reduce the cost of asset as per the market, and now the new cost of the asset in the books of account will stand at 40,000. That 10,000 loss of between the impairment loss and the carrying amount, that 10,000 will go to the profit and loss account and it should be debited over there. Now, methods of depreciation. How do we calculate the depreciation? There are famous methods of employing depreciation. First one being the straight line method, the written down value method, annuity method, sinking fund method, depletion method, and insurance policy method. I'm sure that there are other methods that you can find on Google or any other site, but there are currently two methods that are in use and are most popular methods. The first one being the straight line method, and the second is the written down value method. So, calculation of depreciation with straight line method. Straight line, as the term says, when we plot it on the graph, it will show us a straight declining line, just like this in the graph. So, according to this method, a fixed and an equal amount is charged as depreciation in every accounting period during the lifetime of an asset. The amount annually charged as depreciation is such that it reduces the original cost of the asset to its scrap value at the end of its useful life. This method is also known as fixed percentage on original cost method because same percentage of the original cost is written off as depreciation from year to year. Okay. So first of all, this method is known as fixed percentage on original cost method. As you can see in the graph, and also there is a straight line, you can see that every year a fixed percentage is subtracted from the cost of the fixed asset, and also the depreciation every year will be of the same amount. Let us see how to calculate that. So depreciation is computed by using the following formula in the picture, which is the annual depreciation. That means the yearly depreciation will be cost of the asset minus the residual value, all divided by estimated economic life. So we purchase one machinery for production purposes today, and we purchase it for 1 lakh rupees. And at the end, say the shopkeeper told us that yes, it will be in good condition and will be able to produce the goods for 8 years. So the economic life of the asset that is estimated by the shopkeeper or with whom we purchase it, he mentions it to be 8 years. And say you have a very old chair at your place, which you bought years ago, and today if you want to sell it to a rag picker, you will get some amount for that also, right? So there is always some residual value of an asset which you want to, in future if you want to sell it for some price, you will get that amount for it. So that is known as the residual value of the asset. So cost of the asset minus the residual value divided by the estimated economic life gives us the annual depreciation according to the straight line method. So when we plot the annual depreciation, we always get a straight line over here. Life of asset and the depreciation shown yearly. So also the rate of depreciation under straight line method is the percentage of total cost of the asset to be charged as depreciation during the useful life of the asset. So every year, since we are charging a fixed percentage of the cost of the asset as depreciation, so it is also calculated by annual depreciation amount divided by the acquisition cost multiplied by 100. So we get a fixed percentage of depreciation every year using this method. We can see this with the help of an example. Now consider the following example. The original cost of the asset is rupees 2,50,000. The useful life of the asset is 10 years and the net residual value is estimated to be rupees 50,000. Now the amount of depreciation to be charged every year will be computed as given below. Annual depreciation amount will be the acquisition cost of asset, that is rupees 2,50,000, subtracted estimated net residual value. This is on estimated basis only because we cannot make out that after 10 years we will get 50,000 rupees for it. No one can do that. So it is on estimated basis. So subtracted 50,000 and all divided by the estimated life of the asset, that was 10 years. So we get 20,000 rupees as annual depreciation, which we will subtract from the asset or the cost of asset recorded in the books of accounts yearly. Now the rate of depreciation will be calculated as the annual depreciation amount that came to be 20,000 rupees divided by the acquisition cost, that was 2,50,000 rupees, multiplied by 100. So this comes to be 8%. So it generally means that 2,50,000 is the cost of the asset, and if we calculate 8% of it, we will get 20,000 rupees only. So every year we are charging 8% depreciation on the 2,50,000 according to the straight line method. So again, it is a very popular method because of its simplicity and consistency. A fixed amount of original cost is charged as depreciation every year. So guys, you need to learn this formula for MCQ point of view, that is the annual depreciation and the rate of depreciation. Now the written down value method. Here under this method, depreciation is charged on the book value of asset. Book value means the carrying amount of the asset. Since book value keeps on reducing by annual charge of depreciation, it is also known as the reducing balance method. Let us first try to understand what book value of asset means with this slide. Now here with the help of straight line method, we saw in this example that 2,50,000 will be reduced by 20,000 rupees in the first year of the purchase, and in the second year the book value of the asset will be 2,50,000 minus 20,000, that will be 2,30,000 rupees. Then again next year we will charge 20,000 as depreciation, and again it will be 2,10,000 rupees on the next year. So that 230 and 210, every year the book value of the asset keeps on reducing with a fixed percentage or fixed amount over year. So here we can say that the book value means the carrying amount in the books of accounts. So with the help of written down value method, we will see that the amount of depreciation reduces year after year. Here there was a fixed amount every year, that was 20,000 rupees, but here in the fixed written down value method, there will be different depreciation for each year which will keep on reducing. For example, the original cost of the asset is 2 lakh and depreciation is charged at 10% per annum at written down value. Then the amount of depreciation will be computed as follows. Here we cannot calculate the rate of depreciation since every year there will be a different rate of depreciation. Okay, so depreciation rate is already given in the question and the original cost of the asset as well. We just need to calculate the depreciation yearly. That is, depreciation in the first year will be, say the machine cost for 20 lakh rupees. Sorry, it is 2 lakh guys, you can correct it. 2 lakh multiplied by 10%, that was the rate of depreciation. So it comes to be 20,000 in the first year. Then the written down value method, that means the book value in the books of accounts will be 2 lakh minus 20,000. That will be 1 lakh 80,000 at the end of year 1. So now 1,80,000 will be the book value for the next year for computing the depreciation for the next year. So your depreciation in the second year will be computed on 1,80,000, that was the book value, multiplied by 10%, that comes to be 18,000, and then the written down value for the next year will be 1,80,000 minus 18,000, which is 1,62,000 at the end of second year, and the trail goes on. So you can also see that for calculating the depreciation in the first year, it came to be 20,000, and in the second year, it reduced from 20,000 to 18,000. So here it is well said that the amount of depreciation reduces year after year as compared to the straight line method, where the depreciation remains constant for every year. You can see the graph of the written down value method here. It is not a perfectly downward sloping. It gets reduced yearly but with small percentages, so it is slightly sloping that way. So as evident from the example, the amount of depreciation goes on reducing year after year. For this reason, it is also known reducing installment or diminishing value method. This method is based upon the assumption that the benefit accruing to business from assets keep on diminishing as the asset becomes old. So this method, it tells us that the benefit that accrues from any asset into the business, say the first year of purchasing the asset, there will be most productivity of that machine, but year after year, the productivity of the machine will go down. So the depreciation on it will also get reduced, and the benefit accruing from that asset will also be diminished year on year. Now change in the method of depreciation. we can change the method of depreciation on the following conditions. That means we cannot suo moto or ourselves change the method of depreciation that we employ. Say, for example, if we are maintaining our books of accounts with the help of this method, that is straight line method, then we have to employ that on yearly basis. That means that it is not possible for us to employ straight line method for 1 year and for the next year we come to written down value method. Whatever method we have employed in the past years, we have to continue with that here. So the change in method of depreciation can only be done for the compliance of law and for compliance of accounting standards and for more appropriate presentation of financial statement. Like if you feel that we can, with the help of changing the method of depreciation, we can present our financial statements in a more better way. Only then you can change it with the prior approval of the governing body. So retirement of assets, it is one of the most important concept that when you do not use an asset in the business, like you had one, but it has not reached its useful life yet, but then also you are retiring that asset from its use. At that time, we say that items of property, plant, and equipment retired from active use and held for disposal should be stated at the lower of their carrying amount on net realizable value. This means that when you are retiring an asset from its active use and it is ready for disposal, at that time you should record that asset in your books of accounts at either the carrying amount or the net realizable value. That means today, if you sell that asset in the market, what price you will get for that asset, that is known as the net realizable value. So whichever the carrying amount or the net realizable value, whichever is lower, you have to mention that cost in the books of accounts. Any write down in this regard should be recognized immediately in the statement of profit and loss. Now, say the carrying amount in the books of accounts was 10,000, but you see that the net realizable value, uh, if you sell that asset in the market now, is 5,000 only. Then there is a loss of 5,000 rupees because now you will be recording that asset for 5,000 in the books of account as per the law. So the carrying amount was greater than the net realizable value. The difference between them will now be recognized as loss in the profit and loss account. Also, derecognition of assets. The carrying amount of an item of property, plant, and equipment should be derecognized on disposal or when no economic future benefits are expected from its use or disposal. The loss arising shall be included in the profit and loss account when the item is derecognized. So, when you are just derecognizing an asset like on disposal, or when you can see that it is not deriving any future economic benefits, so at that time also the loss arising from that, you have to mention that or debit that into the profit and loss statement. Disclosures. Now, according to Accounting Standard 10, we are required to disclose some of the things that I'm going to make you study just right now in the financial statements. So, the measurement base, that means what type of model you are using for ascertaining the value of the fixed assets. That is either cost model or the revaluation model. The depreciation method used. That means are you recording the depreciation according to SLM basis or the written down value method? The useful life and the depreciation rates that you are using. For the written down value method, there is a predetermined rate. Say in the example, we saw it as 10%. So if you are applying that method, then you need to mention that. The gross carrying amount and the accumulated depreciation at the beginning and the end of the period, because there is always a different carrying amount for every year or every period because of depreciation. So you have to mention that in your financial statements, disclose that. Then a reconciliation of carrying amount at beginning and the end, showing if there are any additions in the fixed assets and assets retired from active use and held for disposal. The acquisition through business combinations, that is if you are merging with another company. So whatever acquisitions you are making in the fixed assets, that also you have to mention. Then increase or decrease resulting from revaluations, depreciation, and other changes. So these all things you have to disclose in the financial statements. So this now we have covered our accounting standard 10 completely, wherein we have studied the depreciation in detail, the disclosures, the applicability, and everything. So guys, do revise your lesson and all these lectures carefully, and thank you very much. You can look at the courses on www.cracktradep.com, and these are the star performers of our academy. Thank you and happy learning.